I'm on after school again. I kind of wanted to keep it there just for this segment. Breaking the cycle of trauma and addiction. Gonna part two this. So the part two is how to break the cycle of addiction. I know some people may have watched the first one and been like, all right, you telling me all this stuff about trauma and you know how it starts and all this stuff, but what if I'm already addicted to something? You know, what do I do? You know what I'm saying? How can I get my mind to a better space? I'm glad you asked. And guess what? I got the keys just for you. You know what I'm saying? So right now we finna go to this after school. You know what I'm saying? We finna log in with them. And then we finna go on, you know, hop into the video. So I appreciate y'all tuning in. This video might get a little lengthy because it's gonna be some gems in there. Again, it's my first time watching this, but I'm sure it's gonna be some good gems in there. So let's go and plug in. Break the Cycle of Addiction by Ram Dass. I think that's how you pronounce it. Recorded in 1989 as part of the Listening Heart Retreat series. All right. Let's go and plug in. You know what I'm saying? Get your drinks, get your snacks, get your tea. You know what I'm saying? We finna go and get in this video. Bro, I love the way they start the videos, bro. That's just some dope art.
When we were born, like Elizabeth Spring Dow, who was born here yesterday, we come into the world, we come from being fully at home and feeling that release that comes. We have a little shadow of it when we come home at the end of a day, those of you that have a home, and put your feet up or relax or have a cup of tea or whatever that is, that feeling of coming home or coming to a safe space or feeling back at peace or at one. And when we get separated from that, and that separation, I want to keep reiterating, is created by the mind. That's what the basic issue of the ignorance that is the root of suffering that the Buddha keeps pointing out. The basic root of suffering is thought, the clinging of the mind to things which separate one from all of it.
Okay, I just want to look at this real quick. Separation is created by the mind. Ignorance is the root of suffering. Okay. Separation is created by the mind. Ignorance. I can. Okay. I'm resonating with the ignorance is the root of suffering because the more you know, the more you are knowledgeable of how to move in and out of situations. I get that portion. Trying to see where he's going with the separation is created.
Now, once that separation has occurred, there is incredible pain. We can call it being thrown out of the Garden of Eden. We can call it original sin, whatever you want to call that. I mean, there are different metaphors within different systems. But there is incredible pain. And in some profound way, all of our actions henceforth are an attempt to return to that being, for me, under Maharaji's blanket or in the heart of God or in the hand or being the one, coming back into the one.
Okay. I'm listening and I'm trying to think of a way to, I guess, if maybe it's just me, maybe I'm not retaining it well, but from what I'm understanding, when he says separation is created by the mind, my first thought is isolation, right? I think as a guy, as I'm not gonna speak for all guys, but as a guy, I think the notion is to deal with things independently. So we naturally go into a state of isolation, which pulls us from a area of help and support because we feel like we supposed to manage all this weight on our own. So the thing that I'm getting, I guess, to compare it to is isolation. And the minute that you feel like you're alone, that's when shit start to go downhill. And that's what that was with the illustrations as well as the words that were being said. That's what I can make sense of. So, um, okay, now it's starting to make sense. Separation is created in the mind because when we go through a state of depression or feeling like we're depressed, we start to feel alone, separated from, happiness, or separated from the things that once gave us peace. So now we're alone in this space of um, despair. There you go.
And we develop a whole set of techniques that we say make us feel good, give us a feeling for the moment of, yeah, ah. And some of those give us that moment so intensely, and the rest of our life is so much pain of our separateness and so devoid of that feeling that once we find one of those things, for example, it might be a moment of sexual orgasm, it might be a moment of surfing when you transcend the dualism between you and nature, it could be when you're doing something like cooking, the way you turn into just the joy of the process. It could be any number of things. It could be any number of things. That when that occurs and it works, it reinforces the behavior, and you start to do that behavior more and more because it feels good. It takes away the pain of the separateness.
I just want to reiterate this part again, and I'm gonna dumb this down for the people in the back, right? Basically, it says, well, I'm gonna read it and then break it down. When that occurs, it works. It reinforces the behavior. What does he mean by that? When you choose to do something that feels good in place of what I was saying earlier about in part one about getting something that helps you decompress, but you using that as a way to fully relinquish how you feel and not going back to attack something that reinforces that, okay, this feels good. I'm not thinking about that issue anymore. That thing is not bothering me, so I can keep doing this and it'll take that feeling away, so I won't have to feel like that no more. So subconsciously you're reinforcing that type of behavior for that to be acceptable, and you don't have to go back and work on yourself when you actually should, right? So, and that just kind of broke down what I said. You do that behavior more and more because it feels good. Only because it got you out of that frame of thinking for that moment or for that time frame. Now it's like, oh shit, okay, I can just keep doing that. You know what I'm saying? But that's only the sensation it gives you at that moment. Because then, if it didn't, you wouldn't have to keep doing it, and it wouldn't become an addiction if you only did it that time, and it fixed all your problems. But this is in this level of reality and experience of life, there is no one thing fix all. You have to constantly keep adjusting, gaining experience and knowledge to learn how to attack different things in a way to where you have a book of solutions for a life of problems, right? So I think that was interesting.
And the use of drugs, the use of material possessions, the use of relationships, all of it, when you get busy and get obsessed with relationships and wanting to get closer and closer to somebody, it is trying to get to the place where you come back into that oneness. It's that yearning, and you can feel it permeate the universe of people's consciousness.
I just want to interject real quick. I know I'm pausing. I pause so quickly, but I'm interjecting, right? These are things for people who think addiction is only substances like alcohol, weed, crack, or let me not say that. Please bleep that out. Edit India. Please beep that out. But for the people who need to know what addictions are, I'm going to tell you more on the sub context level, because a lot of people think addiction is just something physical that you're doing, whether that's if you're injecting something, if you're in taking something, whether that's smoke, alcohol, like the traditional stuff that they talk about. But there's another form of addiction that people aren't talking about, and it's really harmful because I had the same idea, and it wasn't until later on that I was like, "Damn, this isn't healthy." Right? There is a big genre of emotional bondage and emotional addictions that you could be never touched a drug in your life and you still have a form of addiction. And I'm gonna break this down just real quick. So emotionally bonding to people and consistently like throwing emotional tolls on that person, that's an addiction, right? Because you're consistently relying on that person to constantly have all the answers for you and as well as themselves. Now, and that's not anything wrong with reaching out for help and trying to get help from people, but you have to also understand that everybody has a limit, and there's a certain amount of baggage that people will allow and a certain amount of baggage that people won't allow, and that's you can't be upset at where certain people's limits are because they're not you. This isn't they weren't here to live two at the same time. You get what I'm saying? Everybody has their limit, everybody has their weight. So it's not okay to become emotionally bonded and consistently to rely on that person because they have to experience and go through things on their own as well as you. It's not just about um growing individually, we have to grow collectively, but every it works thoroughly if everybody is carrying their own weight, right? Sometimes we might have to fall on each other. Sometimes I might have to carry your problems and your burdens, but that's okay as long as we've established that we're both growing and we're understanding and that we're willing to work with each other, whether that's friendship or relationship, whether that bondage and that mantra and motto is set in stone that we're gonna get through whatever type shit, then there's no problem with picking up weight from your partner, your friend. Sometimes having them carry your weight. Sometimes there's nothing wrong with that. But when you consistently rely on that person, that's a form of addiction. And people don't talk about that because they so focused on just the physical because it's everything has to be physically perspected for it to be viewed or accepted with society type thing. When emotionally bonding and emotionally manipulating people, that's a form of addiction, and this is not okay. And you have to understand that. Damn, okay, uh, maybe I did put too much on her, and sometimes people don't want to see the worst in you, so they take on way more than they can, and it might start suffocating them to where damn, like I feel like I always got to, or I always got to do this, I always got to do that, and that's really harmful to the relationship that you have with that person. So sometimes you might have to just what I'm saying, get through that and do that shadow work on your own. Sometimes you might have to. Sometimes you you don't bombard people with your problems, but in the space to where it doesn't fully submerge you, you need to have multiple people around you that have experience in different forms of life, and you can find that out just by talking to people and not being no cheesehead and just doing random shit to them all the time. You know what I'm saying? You talk to people, you get to know them, you'll see, damn, he seemed like he been through a lot, or some, damn, he seemed like he may be knowledgeable in this area. That's the point of us having so many different backgrounds and shit like that. All of us contribute in some form of fashion. So get you a little group of people you communicate with, whether that's associates, real good friends, besties, relationships, it don't matter. But just have a multitude of people that you can rely on and create this confident environment to where y'all can be vulnerable with each other. So each person can, what I'm saying, when shit get heavy, what I'm saying, hey, I just need a little convo. I just need to go outside with you, what I'm saying, or can you pull up real quick, or what I'm saying, can you hop on the phone, just something to where you have a multitude of assistance versus just this one person that you've been murdering with let me backtrack. You don't put all your baggage on this one person that's been really helpful to you, and you don't burn them out from all the stress that you have. Because that is a thing, right? That's the thing.
So when you look at addictions from that point of view, you see that it's not like evil, it is just an attempt to get back. The problem is that most behaviors that get you back is like what Maharaji said about drugs. He said it will allow you to be in the present.
The video. What happened? I was talking too long. This
Attempt
happened.
to get back. The problem is that most behaviors that get you back is like what Maharaji said about drugs. He said it will allow you to be in the presence of Christ, but you can only stay 2 hours. He said it would be better to become Christ than visit him. And that's what you find out with most addictive things, that they give you a short rush, but they don't allow you to remain at home. They just allow you the taste of it. And then the minute you get thrown out because you weren't wearing the wedding garment, the minute you go back to heaven but you can't stay because you didn't come in through the right way, you end up feeling like I did something wrong, I'm bad. And then that starts a reaction of mind, so that you come down, then you feel guilt, I must be bad, I should have done something else. Why didn't I do the practices that would have allowed me to stay there rather than the thing that's short term? Because you see your predicament. What happens is that the opportunity for the immediate gratification, it's like what's called in the psychology, the choice of the little candy bar now or the big candy bar later. And with little children, they'll always grab for the little candy bar now because they want what they can get now. They don't have any delay of gratification. And spiritual practices compared to having sex or compared to taking Coke or something is more like delayed gratification versus immediate gratification. So when you start to...
Hold on, I just need to...
now because they want what they can get now. They don't have any delay of gratification. And spiritual practices compared to having sex or compared to taking Coke or something is more like delayed gratification versus immediate gratification.
Okay. Makes sense. Okay, I didn't hear that part where he was in comparison to spiritual practices. Okay, that makes sense now. But basically, I wasn't understanding the comparisons here, where he was saying the immediate gratification, the delayed gratification.
And see your predicament and see what you're doing. There is a way from a spiritual perspective in which you begin with that slight bit of awareness to extricate yourself from the chain of reactivity that we're talking about. The chain of reactivity that goes from I'm feeling this hunger, and then I'll go for the gratification, and then and then the coming down, and then oh shit, and then I should have done it the other way, and then I'm bad, and there's a whole chain of thoughts that go on. Every one of those is just keeping the whole process going.
That's interesting. This is the full experience or the full reaction, right? Problem, thought, vice or decompressor, sensation, regret, guilt, and then shame, right? That's if you choose immediate gratification, right? Or immediate solution, okay?
Of thoughts that go on.
I don't know if you're gonna do it, but we're just gonna hop into this one real quick too. With the delayed gratification, right? Let's say if this is your problem, right? It's your problem. Your thought is, I need to do something about this. So instead of placing something where you'll get immediate, okay, so let's replace this with a journal, right? We're not using food. We're just saying like, let's just use like if you feeling anxiety or some shit like that, right? Anxious about something. Let's figure out. Let's maybe journal or whatever. Let's figure out what it is that you're anxious about. What's causing the anxiousness? Okay. So you figure out what's causing the anxiousness. So now you're no longer ignorant to the feeling, right? So this phase you're getting rid of the ignorance, right? This was now and instead of like a relaxation, this is your aha moment. Like, oh snap, this is what's causing the issue, right? Take that time to journal or talk to somebody, and then you figure, oh, okay, so that's the problem, right? So now you go down to you now did problem, thought, first step of solution or first solution, and then your enlightenment moment. So now you what you do after you're now enlightened is now you're now going to practice. You're going to practice different things to bring um, to help bring that delayed gratification and get to that final stage of delayed gratification. I'm trying to stay on point with what he said. Problem, thought, first solution, right? Or we'll just say solution, not even first solution, but just solution, right? Or what is your first step towards solution? I should say, and then enlightenment, practice, then you receive your gratification. Okay, so that's the way I would do it, or the way I would visualize getting delayed gratification versus immediate. Right.
Every one of those is just keeping the whole process going. And as you develop the spaciousness, you start to look at where you can intervene in the process of the sequence that goes on. As the awareness gets deeper, you intervene at different places in the sequence. For example, the yearning, the hunger starts, and like for me, for example, I've had strong addictions to food. So that when I am feeling unloved, I'll eat and I'll get fat. It's a pattern. And then I'll hate myself, loathing because of my body and so on. And I'll go through it. Now, I understand the psychodynamics of that at one level, but let's take it from this point of view of the mind for a moment. The first place I began to intervene was when Manindra, my meditation teacher, said, Ram Dass, don't you see that it's just old karma running off? And I began to break in at the point that after I had eaten too much to reduce my anxiety because my mother fed me food when I was upset, and I learned that pattern and all that stuff, I start to, instead of going into I'm no good and revulsion and all the sequence, I break the chain at that point, and then I just go back into my spiritual practices. Okay, instead of carrying out that whole sequence, I shortcut there.
Okay. I just want to. This is a good example. I just want to come back here just for. I have to stop reaching for the screen, but just want to come back for this one, right? This intervention is definitely a necessity. It's a necessity. Something that's used non-negotiable. It's a necessity. Intervention must happen, right? But I just want to go back because this was a good job.
Part two, instead of going into I'm no good and revulsion and all the sequence, I break the chain at that point, and then I just go back into my spiritual practices.
And that's where it's exactly where you do that, right? And when you have that thought of doing something, and you was like, and you have that second thought of, damn, I probably shouldn't. If you ever have that, if you're going through something and you know it's repetitive and you consistently do it, that second thought to be like, I probably shouldn't is where you should intervene, right? That's exactly where you should intervene.
Okay, instead of carrying out that whole sequence, I shortcut there. As the witness gets stronger, you start to go back in the chain further and further until as the separateness is starting to come and the feeling of hunger, and as you're about to eat, you start to notice the fact that you're about to do that, and your mind anticipates the whole sequence, and you, in a sense, begin to see the emptiness of the form you're about to take. And for generally, when people come to me with addictions, I'm inclined to say, start doing spiritual practices.
Okay, I thought he was gonna get on it, but he didn't. Okay, I, I thought he would get on it, but I didn't.
Your mind anticipates the whole sequence, and you, in a sense, begin to see the emptiness of the form you're about to take.
Which is second thought, right? Or intuition. Like, oh shit, I'm about to do it again. That second thought where you're like, I probably shouldn't. That's what he's talking about.
Sequence, and you, in a sense, begin to see the emptiness of the form you're about to take. And for generally, when people come to me with addictions, I'm inclined to say, start doing spiritual practices. Start.
And I just want to hop in this real quick. When people say do spiritual practices, it doesn't mean like it doesn't mean um hopping like how like the spiritual scene is now. Like you don't have to go like deep dive into like you know what I'm saying, deep dive into like a whole bunch of like buying crystals and stuff like that. You have to like educate yourself before you start doing all that type of stuff. Like the simplest thing I tell people to do, bro, like cuz I'm more of a like a spiritual practitioner. Like instead of like more conventional like religion stuff, I never push people away from religion because I feel that like some people still have to understand a certain few like a few things before they can start doing like real spiritual practices. Like it's like religion is like the beginning. It's like the beginning stage. And I think that's where you start to witness spiritual things take place in the physical space, right? But once you get to a certain level of um, like spiritual practices, you have to be educated before. So if I'm telling someone to start spiritual practices, what am I going to say? A good thing that I say that will practice is meditation, play in a certain frequency. Like there's a ton of frequencies out there and that are helpful, but finding the frequency that is most helpful for whatever issue you're having, right? Because there's frequencies that tune to each each thing in life. There are, and they're very specific. So I say start with meditation and frequencies. Like if you could intertwine those two and it can just start you there, definitely. Listening to like calming natural sounds, like whether that's, the rain, the wind, or whatever, birds chirping. I say do those things. Those are like two good beginner things to do when you're starting spiritual practices, right? Then you could go like people do sun gazing, a grounding type thing. You should be sun gazing before like noon because the sun is already at its peak and you shouldn't be sun gazing at that point. Um, just ex, it um just interacting with nature type thing. Go outside, do some grounding. You know what I'm saying? Just watch the birds, watch the insects, watch everything. Interacting with nature kind of reconnects you with nature type thing. So that's why those are like beginner things that I say do when you're in a state or you're like, I need help. I need to reset. I need to restart. Okay. If you need to restart and reset, go back to the basics. Don't try to like zoom off and what I'm saying, do some stuff that you're not educated on. Start with the basics. Go back, start all like from scratch. Start from the basics. If you got knowledge on the basics, go back to what you know works and add to it. There's nothing wrong with resetting and restarting. As long as you go back to the basics to reiterate, this is what I need to do first. After this, I need to do this next. Going back to the basics is completely fine. Start there. Okay?
Doing the studies that will allow you to see yourself in a new way, that will allow you to understand what that hunger is you're feeding in a new way, to just get a little different perspective on it. Don't worry about the addiction. It will fall away when it will fall away. And when you do it again, just notice it. And the line I always used, how poignant I am. How poignant the human condition. I'm so gentle with myself. And what I have watched is the patterns of my obsessions and addictions have changed over time. There's no doubt about that.
Okay. I do want to intervene real quick. So if you're fighting addiction, right, and you're trying to get to a place where you're over this addiction, right? He basically, in small terms, said start small. Start on just focus solely on the action of getting better because the addiction will naturally halt when you're starting to do different things in a different way, right? So don't focus on the actual addiction, focus on the actual practices of becoming a better version of you, not the actual addiction. Now if you find yourself falling into the addiction, not naturally you're going to, and when you start to do things differently, naturally it's not going to feel as good as it did when you before you started it. Naturally it won't, because you're desiring to be better, and that those tendencies and habits will prevent you from getting to that level, and the side of you that's already demanding better is going to intervene and be like, we didn't even have to do that. You know what I'm saying? So the satisfaction level of it will start to diminish naturally when you start bettering yourself. So the thing is that he was saying, be gentle. Don't be so fucking hard on yourself, because you got to think about it. When it comes to trauma and addictions, bro, this is shit that could have been from shit that you witnessed when you was a teenager, when you was a kid, and you got to think about the odds, bro. Just think in a mathematical state, the odds, right? People always try to battle numbers, right? If you've been suffering with an addiction for 15 years and you just started trying to fix it in like a month, 15 to 1, bro, 15 years to a month, not even the whole year, a month, it's gonna be fucking hard, bro. So don't be so fucking hard on yourself trying to get through something and you ain't even like, it ain't been like no time. There ain't been enough energy put into this space for you to overcome it. Not to say that you can't overcome addiction in a month. It's possible, but you have to think about it, bro. 15 years of you doing something and seeing it a certain way and expecting it to fade away in a month. Like, you're going to have a lot of ups and downs, a lot of withdrawals and tendencies that are going to relapse, make you want to relapse. But again, the goal is to focus on the actual process of change, not focusing on the future too much because you need to be in the present. Just focus on the process of growth because it's going to come naturally. But allow yourself to be gentle so you don't have to focus on, damn, like, I'm not smoking right now. Damn, I'm not doing this right now, because now you're opening the door to think about that habit or that addiction more often. If that makes sense. Okay.
And yet I didn't deal with them directly head on for the most part. Because what you see is, and this is something that I'm sure I create a lot of waves in many people, including people that I love very dearly, that I'm close to. I see that a lot of the programs to deal with addiction end up creating a new addiction to being not addicted that is as bad as the addiction itself.
Oh my God, somebody said it. Somebody said it. One more time. Run it back. One more time.
People with addiction end up creating a new addiction to being not addicted that is as bad as the addiction itself.
Man, somebody couldn't have said it better than themselves, bro. This is my problem. This is I'm going on a little tangent, but I'm trying not to keep it long, okay? So my problem with rehab centers, with like mental institutes, bro. You go to these places for help, bro, and it's a fucking building with barely no windows. Like, everything's bricked up. Don't have access to a lot of sunlight. It looks like a prison when it's supposed to be like a place of growth and change type shit. And then they give you medicines and shit like that. I'm not bashing all, because it's probably some good ones out there, bro. But where I'm from, you don't get access to shit like that. It looked like a cell. You know what I'm saying? Like, your mental institutes look like a cell. The rehab centers look like a cell. Jail look like a cell. You know what I'm saying? Or has a cell. But there's not a change of scenery. There's no different things. Like, they don't have like, I've seen some places where they have like basketball courts, like volleyball, you know what I'm saying? And there's never people out there. You know what I mean? but giving people access to do different things for them to challenge themselves physically. I don't know what goes on inside because I was quiet throughout my challenges of life, so I didn't. What I'm saying, I didn't I didn't want to say had the chance to go, but I didn't go to one. I wasn't never like referred to go. I was never admitted to one. But from people I have talked to and just from just the little bit I do know about them, it's just like they aren't always the best place for growth. You know what I mean? And if you need to go to one, do not be ashamed to go. Don't feel embarrassed or no shit like that, bro. You need help. You know what I mean? And if that's the place where you feel like you need to go, then at least try it. But I didn't go to one because I naturally thought that it was just like jail. And I was like, how am I going to get better if I'm consistently in the place that's closed off? I'm not outside. There's no fresh air. I'm eating specific foods. I can't wear certain clothes. I can't have shoelaces. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't think that place would help me in any way because I visually would see things that are more like jail. So I don't need to see anything that reminds me of jail because it's gonna make me feel like mentally I'm also in a jail. You know what I mean? My bad, my bad, my bad.
That, I mean, when you meet somebody that says, I haven't smoked in 3 years, 2 months, 10 days, and 4 hours, you realize that their mind is as stuck as their mind was stuck in smoking. Maybe they won't die of cancer, but they'll probably die of uptightness. I mean, I'm being a little facetious, but in general, I'm saying that dealing with things that are, which you're caught in, the minute you start to stop them, you invest them in a way. And so my suggestion is that you just keep cultivating the practices. And every time you don't, see, if I get up in the morning and I got up and I decided to stay in the dream state and not get up to do my sitting, that could start a whole sequence of you're no good, you'll never get to God. But in the time I'm saying you're no good, you never get to God, I could have been doing mantra.
This goes back to the diaphragm diagram he had earlier about the chain of reaction, right? Now we're getting somewhere.
And when I realized, and I began to sit in meditation and watch the sequence of my behavior, I saw that all my recriminations didn't help anything particularly. They weren't really functional, except trying to make me feel comfortable with myself. And the better thing would be the minute I notice that I've lost it, or I've gotten caught, or I'm stuck, or I just start to do something. Just pick up a holy book, do a mantra, think of Maharaji, whatever, sing a song. I mean, I'll start driving to town, and I'm going to give a lecture, and I start to get uptight. Okay? Oh my God, do I know what I'm going to talk about? And it's a neurotic pattern. I know it from years back. I can give you a whole psychodynamic storyline about what that's about. I look at it, I think, there it is. At that moment, I start Shri Guru Charana Sarojara Jani Jamanu Mukuru Sudari Badano Raghu Bada Bimala Jasu Jod. And 6 minutes later, I'm in a different space than I was before. Now, you could say from a psychological, that's denial, and you should work with that. But the fact is that thus far, what's happening is it's getting less and less, and I'm able to hang in here now with very little of that old anxiety that used to be crippling. It used to be crippling. I've worked with some of it, but psychologically, but a lot of it is just, it's become uninteresting.
I just want to jump in real quick. I just want to pull up this image, right? This is a good one. I'm gonna come back to this one, right? But I want to come back to this part, right? So a lot of us are dealing with this right here, right? This level of whatever the feeling is, what I'm saying, despair, depression, anxiety. And what I was saying earlier about practices, right? Journaling and then figuring out what the problem is. So there's nothing new You know what I'm saying? There's nothing new that hasn't happened already in life. Like with the saying, nothing new under the sun, right? There hasn't been an issue that's new. Just for people say the hardest earthquake recorded in history. You know what I'm saying? Like there's always a next step up, but there's never new nothing under the sun. And 9 times out of 10, for all the shit that we go through in life, there's somebody who's already dealt with it, who got over it, who put out information for people to look at when they have it. Sometimes it's in books, sometimes it's in videos, like something like this. Sometimes it's, you know what I'm saying, it's just somebody randomly, just you know what I'm saying, homeless person, just whoever. There's never a situation that we have to face that's brand new that nobody ever thought about. You know what I mean? So when we're in this state, we go back to the journal, back to the practices to see how can we get to this level where it's calm. There's no thought of what, who, how, why. It's just more being in the moment and enjoying that present feeling. And you get people who are very superstitious and only think in a physical plane of what the hell is he doing? Like, what practices are you doing? Like, why is he at this level? And they will shun away anything that you do on the capacity to get yourself in a better mindset that they aren't practicing. You know what I'm saying? Because some people will be like people like, for instance, I get headaches sometimes randomly, right? Some people will be like, I'm gonna grab ibuprofen or whatever, right? What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna maybe go on YouTube. Sometimes I got them in my music or my files. I play a frequency with my AirPods in, right? No promo until I get paid Apple. I put my AirPods in and I play that frequency in my ear and to where noise canceling on. I play that and I marinate in that for a couple minutes and then I'm good. Headache is gone. I'm good, right? But because I know I did the research, what I said earlier, do the research, learn what you need to do, and get to a level to where anytime something is happening at that moment, you have some form of control, right? To get yourself in the space of happiness,
With that. But the fact
relaxation,
is that
calmness. I'm done.
thus far, what's happening is it's getting less and less, and I'm able to hang in here now with very little of that old anxiety that used to be crippling. It used to be crippling. I've worked with some of it, but psychologically, but a lot of it is.
I also want to take a look at this picture real quick, right? So again, and it's saying right here, let go of what no longer serves you to make space for what inspires you. In a sense, get rid of the old shit so you can enjoy and observe and obtain the new shit, right? You can't get to a new place in life if you consistently dwelling on the old. Out with the old, in with the new.
It's become uninteresting. It's just become uninteresting. And I just flip gears immediately. I flip gears. Because the minute you get lost in identification with your personality, to the exclusion of identification with your soul. Right.
Look, look, look at it. A lot of us is this.
Identification with your soul.
Look, persona in your soul. I don't want to take no time for people in the back. Hopefully y'all get this one.
Right. That's what's happened. You've lost it. You've lost it. And there are 1,000 times each day you lose it. And if you get caught in your soul to the exclusion of your personality, you lost it equally as much.
Balance. Balance is key.
And that's the balance of us as human beings.
All right, this says, I'm gonna share this with y'all. The next message you need is always right where you are. By Ram Dass. Or Das. I don't know.
Hello, I'm Mark, animator of After School.
What's up,
I
Mark?
hope you enjoyed this inspiring message from Ram Dass, who is one of my
Das.
favorite speakers to illustrate. The Love, Serve, Remember Foundation carries on the teachings of
Okay, but I'm sorry, R.P. Ram Dass.
Ram Dass through online courses,
Oh shit, R.P. Ram Dass, my fault. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna close this out right here. All right. So yeah. So just a few closeouts, a few things you need to remember, in this journey of overcoming your addictions and getting to a space where you form better habits and put yourself in a positive mindset. Just a few things, we're gonna go back to our illustration real quick, and you can just rewind the video if you need to. You know what I'm saying? I consistently rewind videos and stuff like that, just to get back to this visual right here. All right. So boom, this really the key right here. If you can consistently jot it down, it don't need to be illustrated like this. It don't need to be drawn like this. You can just use words, but write down this. And I want to highlight this. This is a vital point in fighting your addictions, right? Figure out what the problem is. That might be a journey in itself, but this is the process for getting better, right? And I'm not moving my mouse at the right screen. Damn. This is the problem, right? Figure out what your problem is. It could be physical, mentally, or emotionally. Figure out what the issue is. Think, okay, how do I fix this? This needs to be, how do I fix this, right? And then start taking steps to figure out how to get to gratification, right? So the problem and the solution. What steps do I need to get to a solution? It is better to write things down. You put them in your phone, your iPad, whatever, like MacBook, your laptop, whatever. It is not as beneficial unless you're writing them down. There is a huge difference from writing and typing. There is a huge difference. Write these things down. What the problem is, how you're going to fix it, or how do I fix this? This should be your question. The next thing should be solution based practices, right? What's the problem? How do I fix this? Okay, what's the problem? How do I fix this? Get into your research. Get in your bag. Be on that motherfucker like you be on the game, TikTok, and on your phone type shit. Get in your bag. This is your solution base. Next, this is your enlightenment. You said, I know what the problem is. I now have the answer for what the problem is and how can I fix it. So now you're like, oh shit, I know how to fix it. So now you go into the state of practicing. What are practices that can help me get through these things? If I'm if I'm addicted to cigarettes, what practices help me get rid of cigarettes type shit? You know what I'm saying? Whether that's getting a tea or, whatever that practice that best suits for your needs, right? Next thing, I've been sober. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter how long you've been sober. I've been sober. I've been off cigarettes X amount of time. I feel better. I no longer rely on that for, I no longer rely on it, for a sense of gratification. I can't think of the word. I no longer desire cigarettes. So this process is true. Like, that's not what I meant to say. This process is better said than done. Okay. It's going to be a headache. It's going to be a journey. It's going to be hard, but nothing good for you come easy. Okay. It's going to come with trials and tribulations and lessons and challenges and adversities and all that extra shit. But when you're down to get through some shit, this is going to be the way that you need to go about it. So this process, just these 3 steps alone, could be weeks, could be months, depending on how much you really want to get better type thing. But it's not the time frame that should discourage you. It should be not getting better. There should be a bigger fear for not getting better versus consistently being at one step. Because if you're getting at one step and you're working toward another step and you actually have a plan of action to get there, then you're not procrastinating. But the longer that you torment yourself in this place of the longer you torment yourself in this space of not getting better, it's going to be more harmful towards you, right? So now we gonna end this video right here. If y'all got questions or whatever, you know what I'm saying, RIP to my boy Ramdas. But yeah, bro. If y'all got questions or anything like that, y'all found this video and helpful and insightful, all that good jazz. You know what I'm saying, you do all the YouTube stuff, leave a like, comment, subscribe. If y'all find me somewhere else, then go over to the YouTube, hit that YouTube stuff, share it in on this platform so we can all grow and evolve together. Okay. And that's all for this video, man. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.